Hi, my name is Terry and I'm Lucy's mom, and I wanted to do a video to document a little bit of what I went through and my family went through in the birth and the loss of our daughter Lucy. And hopefully by putting this video out there, if you are going through or have gone through something like this, just know that you are not alone. After Lucy passed away, I went on to YouTube a lot and watched a lot of videos, and there were a lot of similar stories, but I still haven't found anything that is exactly like what I went through. And so I'm hoping that by putting it out there, I can make another mama just feel a little bit less alone in what they are going through. So I want to backtrack and kind of start from the beginning about Lucy. So we found out that we were pregnant in September of 2018. We were a little bit nervous because we had miscarried at 8.5 weeks back in January before that. So this was our second pregnancy. We were super, super nervous, but we got through the first trimester and we were feeling good. We did all of the genetic testing. We did, all of the extra blood work. I'm 37 now, I was 36 at the time. So I had them do all kinds of just extra genetic and blood tests, anything that you could do to make sure that I was okay and that the baby was okay. And everything came back positive. Everything was great. I had a really good pregnancy other than being tired at the beginning and was starting to get some intense heartburn, which I know is normal. Other than that, it was pretty good. So we get into January, so I'm 5 months pregnant now at this point. And one day I woke up and I just flat out wasn't feeling good. I thought I was getting the flu. I felt horrible. I didn't want you to touch my skin. I ached, my back hurt. I felt menstrual, and I thought, well, either I'm getting the cold or getting maybe the flu, even though I already had my flu shot. And I also thought, maybe some of the aches and pains were maybe round ligament pain, because I know that can start at about 5 months. I hadn't really gained a whole heck of a lot of weight, maybe 6 or 7 pounds. I stayed pretty small, but I was eating really healthy. I was doing good. And so I just flat out didn't feel good. So I went to bed early that night. That's a Monday. Tuesday I woke up and I don't know what happened, but I woke up and my lips were swollen. It looked like somebody had popped me in the mouth. It even hurt right up underneath my lips. It hurt, it just felt so bruised. My eyes were puffy. I just flat out did not feel good. It just didn't, it wasn't normal. And I didn't understand what I could have had an allergic reaction to, because I didn't eat anything different. I pretty much ate the same things all the time. I didn't eat a lot of bad foods. So I don't know what happened overnight, but something wasn't right. So I emailed my nurse and they said, yeah, go ahead and come in. And I saw the NP that works side by side with my OB-GYN. And that Tuesday, that afternoon, I went to see her and she checked my cervix. Everything was long, hard, closed. Everything was good. I had no signs of early labor. Menstrual feelings is normal. You can have that from dehydration. So she thought, it looks like, she said, Terry, you're probably just fighting a cold. There's a nasty bug going around. You're fighting a cold or you're dehydrated. I really need you to just get some rest and relax and take it easy. So I did. I went home and took a bath and tried to relax, and these cramps just kept getting worse and worse and worse. But in my head, I don't think anything's wrong. I'm mad at myself for possibly getting dehydrated. How could I do that, right? So I start drinking tons of water and basically I'm doing everything that I can to rehydrate. And these cramps are getting worse, and these cramps are turning into contractions. But again, I don't think I'm in labor. I think I may have a UTI or I'm dehydrated. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning now. I cannot breathe when these contractions come on. They're so strong. So I wake my husband up and I basically say, hey, look, I need to get an antibiotic or some saline or something. I'm super dehydrated. I'm worried about getting a UTI or an infection. Let's go to the emergency room. So we get up, we go to the emergency room. They don't have the contraction monitors there because it's one of those freestanding ERs, and they were really nervous because they really couldn't see what was going on with the baby and knew that I was just in a lot of pain. But everything that they did came back normal for UTI. dehydration seemed okay. Like there wasn't anything, they couldn't figure out what was going on. And they did check me. I guess he felt and he thought that everything was okay and closed, but looking back, I don't think he really knew. And even my OB said that as an ER doc, they just don't always know. It's not common to know what to feel for. He said he felt the pressure of a head, which kind of seemed normal because the week before at the anatomy scan, she was head down. And so we thought, oh yeah, the head's down, that's normal. But what he was probably feeling was the tautness of the sac. So that morning, or that night, however you want to look at it, they ambulanced me to my doctor's, the hospital that I would have delivered in, which is Texas Women's in Houston. And so I get there about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still having contractions. They're about 10 minutes long. And I get there and they're switching shifts. And so about 9:30, one of my doctor's colleagues who was on rounds comes in, and they bring the ultrasound machine in. And again, everybody thinks I'm still probably dehydrated and this is just false labor, and people have this all of the time. And so they brought the ultrasound machine in. They put the heart rate monitors on the baby. The baby had a really awesome heartbeat. She was fine. I was just the only one having issues, basically. So the doctor comes in and she says, well, before we check with the ultrasound, let me go ahead and just, check you. So she puts her fingers and inserts her fingers up there. And then I saw her face change. And when I saw her face change, it literally changed our lives. It was the worst moment that I can remember in a really, really long time. And so she takes her fingers out and she basically says, Terry, you are probably 5 centimeters dilated, and I feel a foot and a sac. And I just kept thinking, I am not ready. Like, I am not ready. I am not ready. And they kick the ultrasound girl out. They tell my husband to grab my RV cart. They're bringing in the high-risk doctors, and they're running me down the hall to this other ultrasound room. These high-risk docs come in. They put the monitors on. Come to find out, this is exactly 1 year from the date that I miscarried the year before. So that just makes it even more emotional and intense. And they put the little Doppler thing on there and check. And sure enough, I'm 5 centimeters dilated. I am breached, and there's really no stopping what is about to happen. And so they bring the neonatal team in, and they talk to me about everything that could or possibly would happen. They also talked about the differences of C-section because she was breached, or a natural birth, and the outcomes of both. And unfortunately, without going into details, the C-section had a lot of health risks for me, with still not the greatest outcome for Lucy. And so we opted to try to prolong the pregnancy and the labor as long as we possibly could. So they put me on a mag drip, and we just prayed and prayed and prayed. And I will tell you, I am not the most religious person. I am a very spiritual person, but I am not the most religious, I would say. And I prayed harder than I have ever prayed in my entire life. We knew what was happening, but it just didn't feel real. It just felt like this horrible dream. Like I wasn't ready. I was 5 months. Like, this is not normal. Who, you think early delivery, you think 36 weeks. Maybe I was just naive, but it wasn't clicking to me that anything was wrong. So while I knew something was wrong, I just didn't realize how bad it was. And so the neonatal team comes in, they give me the outcome, they give me the stats, they're preparing me for the worst. And then after that, the magnesium drip was just not working. It wasn't slowing anything down. So at that point, we were just basically waiting to deliver Lucy. My water hadn't broke, my mucus plug hadn't come yet. So it was just really weird, because in my mind I'm thinking, how am I 5 or 6 centimeters dilated without any of this other stuff happening? But evidently there's no perfect order of events in pregnancy, obviously. And so I remember I just kept having them check her heartbeat. Was she still alive? And that left so much guilt for me. And it still to this day does leave a lot of guilt, because up until the moment she arrived, she had a heartbeat. You know, I watch other people's stories, and unfortunately, sadly, you know, they go in for a checkup and there's no heartbeat, or the umbilical cord has wrapped while still in the womb, and they end up having to go in and deliver the next day. And that's horrific. I can't imagine being in those shoes either. So I didn't understand, and I still don't understand why am I in labor? And yet here's Lucy with this perfect heartbeat, like everything is completely fine, and she doesn't know essentially what is about to happen. I mean, it breaks my heart. And the guilt that you get from that it makes you feel like it's never going to go away. And so I asked you know, I'd watched like videos, like you think at 22, 23 weeks, you know, for me, I was like, oh my gosh, she's probably gonna look like a little alien. Like, what am I gonna do when she arrives? Is she gonna be breathing? Is she not gonna be breathing? You know, they go through this whole scenario, and I just didn't know what to expect. And so I asked one of the high-risk doctors, I said, do I hold her? Do I not hold her? What happens? And they said, you know, she could be trying to take some breaths. She could be trying to make it cry. She could come out not breathing because she's breached anyway. There's just all of these what ifs. And one of the doctors, who I'm forever grateful to, told me, he said, you know, the moms that don't hold their children have a harder time later down the road. I can't imagine being in that position either. And he said, so, you know, I recommend, even if it's for just a second, you know, you hold her and you look at her and you tell her goodbye. So here I am, it's Wednesday now, and my doctor comes in, and I finally opted for an epidural because I've been in labor for 24 hours almost at this point. I didn't realize it, but I was in labor for 24 hours already, and I was tired, and I was in a lot of pain. My parents came to visit. My husband's parents came to visit. My husband never left my side this entire time. I mean, I had support around me, and it just felt like it was going so fast and so slow at the same time. So I get an epidural, and that's about 3 o'clock on Wednesday. And then Wednesday night, about 12:30, my water finally breaks. And then Thursday morning, I ended up delivering Lucy. And so Thursday morning, when she arrived, and there's a lot that went into those next, you know, 12 hours or so, but when she arrived, about 2 minutes before she arrived, I had already thought I was passing her, but I had passed a pretty big clot. My heart rate dropped. I got like I was about to pass out. They gave me some epinephrine, and it caused me to start vomiting, and I started choking on that. And when I was choking and coughing to try to clear my airways, she ended up arriving. And a couple minutes before that, I had them check her heart rate, because I just, for me, I wanted to know, you know, I wanted to know if she was still alive, and she was. And so when she arrived, I had told the doctors, you know, when she comes, please clean her up and wrap her up and give her to me, because I needed to look at her in my own way, and at my own time as well. And I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, I thought I was going to be looking at this like alien thing, right? So they hand her to me, and I saw by their faces that she wasn't breathing. And I had asked, I said, you know, did she make it? Is she breathing? Does she have a heartbeat? And they just kind of shook their head, didn't say much. They teared up as well. I think every doctor and nurse that I had in those days, every single one of them cried right along there with me. They're human too. And they wrapped her up and they handed her to me, and I really didn't know what to expect. But when I move that swaddle off of her face. She was the prettiest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. And up until that moment, I didn't want to get pregnant again. I didn't want to do this all over again. A miscarriage and then this, like, this was too much. But the moment I saw her face, it sounds cliche, but it's like this, it's that love that you can't describe. Like, there are no words to describe what I felt with her and when I held her. She had passed through the canal, which again makes it hard because I feel like why did my body do this? I don't know, and I held her for about 12 hours until I was discharged to go home. I had an amazing nurse who did fingerprints and handprints and footprints and moldings and took some pictures and these things that I didn't think that I was going to want. I'm so grateful. In fact, this I'm sitting in what was supposed to be her nursery, and these boxes over here have a lot of her stuff, like the moldings of her feet and that kind of stuff in there. So I'll always have that. I haven't decided exactly how I'm gonna do it. Maybe I'll do another video and kind of go through what the hospital gave me and gave Lucy. My husband and I went home. We were also, nobody tells you or prepares you until the social worker comes in that you have to decide between a cremation or a funeral. So we ended up having her cremated, and so going to the funeral home the next day was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I don't have relatives that have passed other than a couple grandparents. I just am blessed that I haven't, or fortunate I should say, that I haven't had to go through that process of funeral arrangements or anything like that for anybody. And so having to do that for your daughter, totally unexpected. There was just no time. There was no time to mentally prepare any of this. There was no forewarning. There was nothing wrong, and that's something that I really, really struggle with. And Lucy will always have this huge, huge place in my heart. I mean, I have necklaces, I have jewelry about her. I do as much as I can to remember her at all times, and it's almost 4 months. We're actually coming up on her due date. So her due date was May 10th, which is Mother's Day weekend. And that's going to be a hard weekend, I feel like, because it is really hard to feel like a mom when you never got to do mom things. Like, how am I a mom when I don't have a kid? I don't have a baby. I have an urn. I never got to do the mom stuff, and that's really hard. And I think, looking back, there were things that maybe I should have pushed harder on or said, I look back and say, well, I should have tested for this, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. And at the end of the day, I know that I'm not in control, and it's just not an easy situation. And we get stronger every day, and I don't cry every day. I don't cry when I talk about it all the time either. It gets easier, but the hurt and the pain is still there. And so I went afterwards to a rheumatologist and endocrinologist. I did a lot of extra testing just to make sure there wasn't any underlying issues where there was something wrong with me as we prepare to move forward with another pregnancy. And everything came back perfect. And that's, for me, the hardest thing. And I look at these YouTube videos and I watch other people, and gosh, I know it's such a hard thing. But I wish I had an answer. I wish I knew. And so if there are any other moms out there that have been through this without a reason or without a cause, perfect blood work, perfect testing, perfect everything, and then just they call it a spontaneous premature labor. That is what it is titled, and it sucks. That's the best way I can describe it, is this just sucks. It is really hard to not have answers. And then, you know, she was alive up until delivery and then passed during that. And I know I'm grateful to have met her, and I'm grateful to have held her, and I'm grateful for the time that we had. But I know that there's other people out there that have been through this too, and so just know I'm giving you a hug through this video, and I just wanted to share my story, and I hope that somewhere along the way, if I can help one other person, just one, feel not alone or feel like they have something to relate to, then this video and I have done the job, because that's really, at this point, all I want is to just share my story and close with the fact that there is no other love than holding that baby. That event changed our world forever. She changed my story. Thanks for watching. Bye.